Hello, everyone. So today I want to talk about what your or who your anger impacts and what you can do or some strategies that you can use to help you control your anger. So, as I've said in previous tutorials, anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. Okay, the trick is not to stop the anger, but it's to manage yourself when you're feeling angry. It's anger is a compass and it's basically telling you that you're not pointing to your north star, that something is wrong and something needs to change. And you have that power. You can change. So when you're feeling angry, it's important to understand who your anger impacts. Now, I do have my trusted whiteboard here. Um, so what we can see is, first and foremost, your anger impacts your family. So if you have a partner, even children, your anger will impact on them. They will be affected by your anger. They'll be influenced by your anger, and they'll take that on. Your anger also impacts your friends and may actually push your friends away. People that you might have been very close to in the past may no longer want to be your friend anymore because you become an angry person. And let's admit that it's not nice being around people that are angry. It's quite draining. It's quite exhausting. Work colleagues. Now, work is something that most of us need to do. We need to earn money, we need to earn a living, and typically when you're working, you're dealing with other people. And if you're an angry person, or if you're driven by your anger, people are not going to enjoy working with you. Um, and in fact, you could potentially lose your job if you are an angry person because it's not beneficial to the work, it wouldn't be beneficial to the business, it wouldn't be productive. Um, so your anger can impact on your work colleagues and on your work. Your anger can also impact on strangers. Now we can see strangers there as well. Now, as I've said in previous videos, we have no control over anything outside of us, but we do have full control over ourselves. However, we do influence things that are outside of us. We can influence them, and that includes strangers. Why can we influence strangers? Well, the simple answer is because they're in our field of awareness. They're aware of us, we're aware of them, and when we're angry, people can see that. People can feel that. I'm sure when you walk down the street and if you see someone yelling or someone who's angry, you try to avoid them. It's a natural instinct to protect yourself. So your anger also affects strangers. Most importantly, though, your anger affects you. Okay, now, typically when we act out of anger, we act out of anger even if we don't enjoy it because it's comfortable and because you're used to it. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you enjoy it. Okay? When you're angry, it affects everything about you. It affects your immune system. It affects your mental health. It affects your ability to focus. It affects your relationships, as we've spoken about before. So, if you want to stay, if you want to stay angry, once again, I mean that's a choice. We can't stop you from being angry, if it's a choice, if you're too comfortable in that situation. But it's important that if you do decide to stay in that space, that you're aware that you're going to push people away and that you are impacting on yourself. Now, further to that, if you decide to stay in an angry space, it becomes a feedback loop That is, you are going to affect yourself even more, and you are going to get angrier and angrier and angrier and more upset and more upset and more upset, because you're reinforcing these feelings. You're giving them energy, you're giving them power. And vice versa, for those of you who want to move away from your anger, and I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, you are one of those people, you can, by focusing on why you're angry and working with the emotion and understanding what is causing you to be angry, and working with coming up with strategies, which I'm going to get on to very shortly, that you can use to control your anger. So not to diminish it, but to control it and use it in a positive and constructive way. And when you start using anger in a very positive way, so not trying to destroy it, but trying to use it as a tool to grow and become better than who you are, it can be a very powerful stepping stone for you to learn how magnificent you are, because you're able to overcome these challenges, the challenge of being angry. And that then becomes your feedback loop. You start reinforcing the use of anger in a positive way, and you become more of a positive person, and the anger in and of itself will start to diminish, because you no longer give it the negative energy or that focus in a negative light that you have been giving it in the past. So I'm going to talk to you now about some strategies that you can use. I'm just going to shift over here a little bit to some strategies that you can use to control your anger. Okay, now, as I said, anger is a normal emotion. It's something that we all go through. Okay, and we need it. I mean, we need that part of the compass, so that we know, we can be aware when something is wrong, and we can learn to use that so that we can change parts of our lives that are no longer working for us. Okay, so some things that you can use to help control your anger is simply take a breath. By taking a breath, you're actually forcing yourself to pause. And it also gives you the opportunity to think before you speak, which is very, very important, because now you're not reacting out of an instinctive emotion. You're reacting out of a more centered thought place. So you're able to actually use that moment to gather your thoughts and to communicate yourself more clearly, so not instinctive, but more clearly. Okay, you're able to actually take a breath, take a step back, and gather yourself before you react. Drink a glass of water, or take a water bottle wherever you go, and if you start feeling the churn of anger rising up in your stomach, or you start feeling the heat of anger starting to swell, have a glass of water. Having a glass of water is incredibly powerful. I've worked with numerous anger management clients who actually have a glass of water during counseling sessions. In some extreme cases, they've begun to shake because they can feel the anger building up, and they have a glass of water and the shaking stops, and then they're able to continue with the session. So having a glass of water, or having some water, is very powerful, because once again, it's just like having a breath. It forces you to slow down. Okay, and having a glass of water actually is very good, because it can stimulate your nervous system, which can also calm you down. Another thing some people do is they'll have an elastic band around their wrist, and if they start feeling the anger, they'll pinch themselves with the elastic band. They'll slap their wrist, and that's a minor. That's so that they can stimulate their nervous system as well. It's you're giving your nervous system a micro-controlled trauma to snap you out of the emotion of anger, or at least to minimize it. Excuse me. Create a mantra for yourself. Okay? I am in control. That's a good mantra, especially with the words I am. When you say the words I am, you're reinforcing that you actually are in control. Okay? And working in conjunction with a deep breath or a glass of water, I am in control, can actually help to calm down the rise of anger that you can start feeling building up. Okay, you can start to calm yourself down. Listening to music. Okay, now when I say listening to music, I mean you can listen to whatever you're used to help bring you to that happy space. So classical, can even be rap, R&B, whatever it is that takes you to your happy space. Music, auditory input, so sound input is very, very powerful. Okay, once again, you're stimulating your nervous system. You're regulating your hormones and your neurotransmitters through the sound waves. Okay, so that's a very powerful way to control your anger. And there really is no excuse not to have access to music with technology. I mean, everyone carries an iPhone around, everyone carries earpods. You have access to music. Set yourself up for success. Take that with you. Take a water bottle with you. Okay? Practice and rehearse what you will think and say if you know you're going into a situation that will make you angry. Road rage is actually a very, very this actually works very, very well for driving and road rage, because you can actually, before you take the wheel, you can mentally rehearse that someone is cutting you off or someone is doing something to you, and you can rehearse how you would like to react. This works very well in conjunction with the trigger cycle, which we've spoken in. I've got a video on. You can check out that video if you want to learn about the trigger cycle. Okay, so in the trigger cycle, you're going through the cycle how it went, so the way you didn't like it, and then you're going through it again in a way that you would have liked it to go. So you can rehearse that before you go into a situation that's going to make you angry. Excuse me. So practice and rehearse. If you are already in an argument, become mindful of your feelings. Okay? The anger in and of itself, as I said, is not bad, but if you become mindful of it, you can control it. Tell the other person how you're feeling. Help them to understand why you feel the way you feel, why you're upset. Is it something they said? Is it something that happened earlier in the day that really bothered you and that thought popped up again? Communicate with them. You'll be surprised at how receptive people are when you're honest and genuine about your feelings. Give yourself permission to be vulnerable. There is nothing wrong with that. Very, very powerful. Help people understand why you're upset. And vice versa. If someone is angry at you, or if someone is acting negatively towards you, and you don't know what you've done, and you feel that burst of anger starting to rise, and you ask them, what have I done that makes you feel this way? What is it that's now making you feel this way? I'm starting to feel angry now. I'm starting to feel this churn, but I don't understand why. What have I done? Tell me, how can we work on this? Be truthful, be honest, be genuine. Everyone goes through this. You're not alone. Slow down the conversation. Okay? Often when we're in an argument, the conversation voices rise, we speak faster, we cannot think because we start engaging with the other person instinctively. We are so desperate to be heard and so desperate that they see our point of view that we scream. And if that escalates, this is where domestic violence and physical abuse can start coming into it, because we're not being heard. Okay? So before it gets to that, slow down your conversation. Tell the other person why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Ask them, why are you feeling this way? What am I doing? Maybe walking away from the conversation or the argument is the best thing in the short term. Take your breath, listen to some music. When you've gathered your thoughts, then talk about it. A lot of the time, we're angry in the moment. Okay? And a lot of the time, when you're angry, you will do things that you will later regret. Okay? Ask questions instead of making statements. Can you see that? Yes, there you go. Okay? So, you're doing this to me. I'm like this because of you. That's a statement. And that's actually, for the most case, inaccurate. Okay? Because as I've said before, you are responsible for your feelings. So instead, ask the questions. Why am I feeling this way? What is it within me that is reacting angrily to the circumstances? Why are you talking to me this way? What have I done to make you upset with me? Ask the questions. Ask them questions. When you ask questions, people start to feel heard. This is why counseling and psychotherapy is so powerful. Because when you're talking with a counselor, psychotherapist, or even life coach, a lot of the time they're exploring you and they're asking you questions. Now, when the question is asked, it actually forces you to look within to seek the answers. Okay? So, if you're in an argument with someone and you start asking them questions and you start questioning yourself, you actually shift the conversation from victimhood and blame to self-empowerment and understanding. So ask questions. Okay? Now, if you're in a situation where, and I'm going to give the road rage example again, where you're engaging with someone, but you can't talk to them or you don't know them, because when you're in a car, you're by yourself. Ask yourself the question. I am feeling angry right now. Why am I feeling angry? Okay, and once again, this goes to the trigger cycle. What can I do to help myself feel better? Okay, I'm going to have a breath. I'm going to pull over and I'm going to listen to some music for a couple of minutes. Okay? So there really is no excuse for you to let anger control you, because you do have the tools to control your anger and to control your emotions. You are that powerful. Okay? I'm just going to put this back. So, when it comes to anger, the other thing I want to mention is that it's okay to fall off the wagon, okay? It's okay to get angry again, even if you're working on your anger. You have not failed if you are practicing, if you are doing these things, if you're working on your anger and you get angry again, even to the point of losing control, okay? The reason that I say that is because you're learning these tools so that you can deal with your anger. You're not learning these tools to stop your anger. And things will happen that will trigger you to the same level of anger that you had before. But there will be a difference, because you will now have learned new strategies. You will now have learned new tools that you can apply when you start feeling that level of anger, and you will actually learn to stop yourself before you go overboard. Okay? You need to be tested to prove to yourself that you're actually succeeding in what you're trying to do. Okay? Otherwise, it's all theory. Otherwise, there's no point. Okay, you're learning this stuff so that you can use it and that you can learn and you can see how magnificent you really are, how much you're growing and evolving, that you really are better today than you were yesterday. I've worked with numerous clients who come to me wanting to learn anger and they don't think they can change, you know? And I give them some techniques and some strategies, yet they get angry again. But they come to me and they say, you know what, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. And I said, but that's fine, because you're thinking about it now. And the next time that happens, you're going to be able to do that. Okay, it's baby steps. You don't go from 0 to 100 right away. You've got to gradually go up. You've got to crawl before you walk, walk before you run. So don't beat yourself up. Don't be too hard on yourself if you do fall off the wagon. Be mindful. Be mindful and keep working on yourself. There is a modality, or there is actually a whole science called neuroplasticity. It's part of neuroscience. When you practice something over and over, when you think something over and over, you actually create new neuronal pathways in your brain. What that means is that the more you practice something, the more it becomes instinctive, the more it becomes easier for you. So even if you fall off the wagon, if you practice anger management, if you practice these tools which we have just gone over, you'll find that they will become easier and easier every time. And what you'll find is that over time, even when you're coming down into that depths of anger again, you'll actually pick yourself up at a higher place than you had previously. So you're actually evolving, you're actually moving up every time you start feeling angry again, because you will have learned new tools. Okay? I hope this video has helped you. We are nearly at the end of our anger management course. I think there'll be one more video on this. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in contact. Please feel free to leave comments, subscribe if you like the video. And I will see you all again next week. Bye.